Welcome to The Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise, take those incredible sources you share, and really distill the key insights. Today we're unpacking something potentially life-changing, a framework called the 5 types of wealth. And this whole thing, this deep dive, it kicked off for the author with a gut punch moment. He did this simple calculation, kind of chilling actually, how many more times he'd likely see his aging parents before they died. But it wasn't just about family. It was this stark realization that his constant chase for conventional success, the big job, the stuff, led him straight into what he calls the arrival fallacy. He thought he'd arrived, but found himself pretty miserable. Felt like his real house, his health, relationships, time was just sort of falling apart.
That gut punch moment, it really sets the scene, doesn't it? It's so relatable, that feeling that you're chasing something, you get there, and it's hollow.
Exactly. And what struck me, and I think it strikes a lot of people, is how easy it is to fall into that exact trap. We're constantly told, one more promotion, get that bigger salary, achieve this goal, and then you'll finally be happy.
Right. The then.
But his experience and what he found talking to wise elders, even really financially successful folks, it kind of pulls back the curtain. The elders, they barely mention money when talking about a good life.
Interesting.
And the rich people, when he asked, how much more money do you need to be perfectly happy? Almost all of them said,
Let me guess. More.
2 to 3 times more. Every time.
Wow. And that just nails it, doesn't it? It shows how our usual scoreboard for success, society's scoreboard, is often just broken, too narrow, focused purely on money.
Yeah. And if that's all you're measuring, you might win the money battle, sure, but you could be losing the bigger war.
Or war for, well, happiness, fulfillment, relationships, purpose.
Growth, health, all the stuff that actually makes life rich, the cost can creep up on you.
Indeed. So our mission today really is to walk you through this different framework, a new scoreboard. It's built on 5 types of wealth, all connected. Time, social, mental, physical, and financial is in there too.
We want to show how they all weave together and give you some, practical systems you can actually use to build them up in your own life. The goal is to equip you with tools, insights, to build a life that feels genuinely rich, not just on paper, but in every way that counts. Okay, let's dive in.
The foundation, rethinking wealth.
Let's start right there with that catalyst for the author, that really raw, honest moment, facing the finite time with people he loved. It hammers home that arrival fallacy idea. You hit the goal, the job, the title, the house, and expect lasting satisfaction.
Only to find emptiness, yeah. And you asked how universal this is.
Right. Is it just him or?
Oh, it's remarkably common. The source even cites Harvard Business School research. Millionaires, right, across the board, no matter their actual net worth.
Yeah.
They felt they needed 2 to 3 times as much money to be truly happy.
So it's never enough. Just a constant treadmill.
Exactly. A hamster wheel. It perfectly mirrors what the author found in his own interviews. The goalposts just keep shifting further away.
Okay, so if that's the common experience, what's the big lesson here? If money enables wealth, what actually defines it, according to this?
The number one takeaway, the most critical point, is this. Money might enable your wealthy life, sure, but it's ultimately defined by everything else.
Everything else.
Yeah. If you focus only on the money metric, you risk what's called a Pyrrhic victory.
Ah, like the Greek king who won the battle but lost so many soldiers, it felt like a defeat.
Precisely. For us, that looks like hitting profit targets but missing anniversaries, or earning huge bonuses but skipping your kids' games.
Staying in that safe job while your sense of purpose just withers.
Right. And the scary thing about that kind of victory is how slowly, how sneakily it can happen. You don't notice until it's maybe too late.
That's a sobering picture. We can win the small fight but lose the big war for a life well lived. So to avoid that, the author suggests this new way to measure life, built around timeless pillars.
Time, people, purpose, and health.
Right. And he formalizes this into the 5 types of wealth. Financial wealth is included, but deliberately positioned as an enabler, not the end goal.
So the 5 are?
Okay, you've got time wealth, basically, freedom over your time, how, where, who you spend it with.
Makes sense.
Then social wealth, the depth and breadth of your connections, your relationships.
Pretty sure.
Physical wealth, pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Your health, energy, vitality.
Yeah.
Mental wealth, this is about purpose, growth, peace, calm, even solitude, your inner world.
Okay.
And finally, financial wealth, having enough money for your needs and to fund your goals. Enough, not necessarily endless.
The core idea, then, isn't just knowing these 5 types. It's about how they interact and how you consciously prioritize them. That's what creates real fulfillment.
And the source even mentions a wealth score quiz you can take,
Yeah, a good starting point. Helps you see where you stand now, where the gaps might be for you personally.
guiding your life, the life razor and compass.
Okay, so we have this new scoreboard, 5 types of wealth. How do we actually play the game differently? How do we make decisions using this? The author introduces something called a life razor. What exactly is that? The Apollo 13 example helps, I think.
Yeah, the life razor is
saying-
basically a simple rule, a principle, to cut through complexity when you're making choices, like Apollo 13, right? Facing total disaster. But they simplified everything down to one thing. Keep the Earth in the window. That was their
A
razor.
single point of focus.
Exactly. And a good life razor, it's controllable by you, it creates positive ripples, second-order effects, and crucially, it defines who you are. The source gives that great example of Mark Randolph, Netflix co-founder. His razor, never miss a Tuesday dinner.
Which sounds simple, maybe even trivial, but it wasn't really about the pasta, was it?
Not at all. It was the symbolism. It told his family, his business partners, his team, this is what matters. This is my boundary.
It created this ripple effect of commitment, of healthy limits. Shows how one small, consistent action anchors your identity.
Totally. And building on that, the source talks about calibrating your compass, using goals and anti-goals.
Okay, so the razor is about identity, who you are. The compass is about
Your future vision,
yeah,
where you're heading. But the anti-goals are key here.
anti-goals, so defining what you don't want.
Exactly. Knowing where you'll metaphorically die so you never go there. Defining the lines you absolutely will not cross to achieve your goals.
Like that Pyrrhic victory idea again. If your goal is CEO, maybe an anti-goal is I won't sacrifice my family time, or I won't compromise my health, or I won't bend my ethics.
Precisely. It forces you to think about the trade-offs you refuse to make. That's super clarifying.
Okay, so you have your identity anchor, your future direction, your non-negotiables. How do you actually move towards that?
Through high-leverage systems. That's the next piece. Think about like a top athlete or a master investor like Buffett. They aren't just trading hour for hour, input for output. They focus on actions that give massive returns for the effort.
Like 1 unit of input gives you 10 or 100 units of output.
Exactly. Asymmetric outcomes. Finding those few things that make the biggest difference.
That sounds efficient. I also liked the dimmer switch analogy in the source, this idea that life isn't always full throttle on everything.
Right. Life has seasons. You might lean into professional growth really hard for a while.
Like turning up that dimmer switch.
Yeah. While ensuring other areas, relationships, health are maybe dimmed down a bit, but not switched off entirely. Not left to atrophy.
It takes the pressure off needing to make huge progress in all 5 areas simultaneously, all the time.
It absolutely does. It allows for focus and recognizes reality. And to keep you on track through these seasons, there's a process for course correction.
Regular check-ins.
Basically, yeah. Asking yourself tactical questions.
Yeah.
What really matters most right now? Are my goals aligned? Are my high-leverage systems working? What's draining my energy?
Ooh, that's a good one. What's draining me?
And maybe the toughest one. Who are the boat anchors in my life?
Mm-hmm.
People holding me back, maybe unintentionally.
Wow, okay. So it's about constant, honest evaluation and tweaking the plan.
Deep dive into time wealth.
All right, let's dig into the first type, time wealth. And this one starts with that really confronting question, the one that sparked the author's journey. How many moments do you really have remaining with your loved ones?
Oof. It's heavy, right? But essential. It just cuts through the noise. It reminds us, like Alexis Lockhart shared in her incredibly moving story about her son Jackson, everyone we love, they're kind of on loan to us.
Less than the blink of an eye.
Yeah. And that connects directly to Tim Urban's The Tail End essay, too. That visual representation of your remaining time with people.
It's shocking. You might have already used up 90% of your in-person time with your parents, for example, without even realizing it.
It's a necessary wake-up call to the finiteness of time.
And it's weird, isn't it? Humanity's relationship with time has changed so much. From worshiping it to measuring it with clocks.
Einstein showing its relative.
Right, like in Interstellar. Yet now we have all these tools, we live longer, but we feel more time poor than ever. Why is that?
Well, the source points to the Red Queen's paradox. From Through the Looking Glass.
Running faster and faster.
Just to stay in the same place.
Yeah.
Busy has become this weird status symbol.
Oh, definitely. How are you? Busy.
But it's often just scattered attention. The research on attention residue is fascinating here.
What's that again?
It shows that every time you switch tasks, even for a quick email check, your brain doesn't fully switch. Part of it is still thinking about the last thing.
Like a mental echo.
Exactly, a residue.
Yeah.
And it tanks your performance on the new task. You're less focused, less effective.
So being constantly busy and multitasking is actually making us worse at everything.
Pretty much. So the solution isn't just running faster, it's about running smarter.
Okay, how? The Greeks had two words for time, chronos and kairos.
Right. Chronos is clock time, sequential, minutes, hours. Kairos is different. It's about the quality of time. Significant moments, opportune moments, times of leverage,
So the key is identifying those kairos moments.
and directing your focused attention there. That's the core of time wealth, which rests on three pillars.
Let's hear them.
Pillar one is awareness. Just truly getting that time is finite, like the author calculating visits or Graham Duncan's time billionaire idea, realizing how much time young people have, yet often waste.
Pillar 2.
Attention, your ability to focus deeply. Like Newton during a plague having his miracle year because he was isolated, no distractions.
The magnifying glass analogy, focusing the sun's rays.
Exactly. Focused attention creates that asymmetric output. Huge results from concentrated effort.
And the third pillar.
Control. Having the actual freedom to choose how you allocate your time instead of just reacting all day.
Okay, awareness, attention, control. How do we build these? The source gives practical systems.
It does. For awareness, there's that time wealth hard reset. Actually doing the math on remaining visits with loved ones. It's tough, but powerful.
And for attention, the energy calendar sounds useful.
Yeah, flagging activities as energy-creating green, neutral, yellow, or draining red. The goal.
Maximize the green, minimize or eliminate the red. Makes sense.
Then you've got classics like the Eisenhower matrix, urgent versus important to prioritize, and using Parkinson's law to your advantage.
Work expands to fill the time allotted, so give tasks less time.
Exactly. Set shorter deadlines, batch similar tasks like email, shorten meetings, work like a lion.
Wow.
Sprint intensely, then rest properly.
What about just getting started? Procrastination kills time wealth.
True. The anti-procrastination system helps there. Break big things down, make a specific plan with deadlines, and create stakes. Tell someone, set a reward or penalty. Little wins build momentum.
And for cultivating deep focus, that flow state boot-up sequence sounds intriguing.
It's great. Based on Cal Newport's work, create a ritual using your senses, taste, touch, sound, smell to signal to your brain. Okay, it's deep work time now.
Like the author's cold brew and specific music.
Yeah, whatever works for you. It's about priming your mind.
Okay, finally, how do we gain more control over our schedule?
Two big ones. Effective delegation. Not just dumping tasks, but thinking about risk and reversibility to truly free yourself up.
And the big one, the art of no. Saying no effectively.
Using those tests.
Yeah.
The right now test and the new opportunity test. Is this the best use of this moment? Will saying yes block a better future yes? Avoids the yes damn effect.
The yes damn effect, saying yes now and regretting it later. Love that term.
And then there's time blocking, visually planning your week, allocating specific blocks for different types of work management, creation, consumption, ideation.
Deep dive into social wealth.
Okay, moving on to social wealth. This one hits hard too with the central question, who will be sitting in the front row at your funeral? Wow.
Yeah. It immediately grounds the discussion in what truly lasts, doesn't it? The source shares Eric Newton's story about his wife Aubrey's cancer diagnosis, her biggest regret near the end.
Not spending more time deepening relationships with the people she really cared about.
Exactly. And Eric's realization from that was profound. The only thing that matters at all is the quality of the relationships with the people we love.
And this isn't just, an emotional feeling. It's backed by science. That Harvard study.
The Harvard study of adult development,
Yeah.
one of the longest-running studies ever on human well-being. Decades and decades.
And the main finding just blew me away.
Go on.
Relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Good, strong relationships were the single biggest predictor of life satisfaction. Way more than social class, money, even IQ.
And even more startling, relationship satisfaction at age 50 was the best predictor of physical health at age 80.
Physical health. It literally affects your body.
Conversely, loneliness was found to be worse for your health than smoking or heavy drinking.
That's incredible. The study asked that question. Who could you call in the middle of the night if you were sick or scared?
Your answer reveals your true social wealth.
Which is a bit scary considering what the source calls the loneliness pandemic. We're supposedly more connected than ever with tech.
But feeling less connected. The U.S. Surgeon General confirmed Americans are spending more time alone.
It begs the question then. What's the point of optimizing your finances if you end up alone?
Right. People moving for tax breaks or taking that high-paying job miles away, only to be miserable without their support network.
That Reddit post quote was powerful too. 20 years from now, the only people who will remember that you worked late are your kids.
Ouch. Hits home. The author also mentions his dad's approach, which I liked.
Balancing intense work with family connection.
Yeah, by explaining the why, involving loved ones in your purpose, helping them understand the sacrifices, that builds connection, not resentment.
That makes sense. And the story of Rohan Venkatesh, diagnosed with that inoperable brain tumor.
A beautiful example of choosing your response. He couldn't control the first arrow, the diagnosis itself.
But he could control the second arrow, his reaction.
Exactly. He chose to focus on what he could control, like spending quality time with people who lifted him up, not dragged him down.
So let's talk pillars again. What are the 3 pillars of social wealth?
Okay, first is depth. This is your inner circle, your front row people. Deep, meaningful bonds built on trust, support, shared history.
Like the Moai concept from Okinawa, those lifelong support groups.
Precisely. Second is breadth. A wider circle of connections for general support, community, belonging, can be individual ties or group involvement.
Depth and breadth. And the third,
Earned status. This isn't about fancy cars or designer labels. That's acquired status, and it's fleeting.
right, Morgan Howell's point. You see a nice car, you don't think the driver's cool, you think it'd be cool if you had the car.
Exactly. Earned status is different. It's the respect, admiration, trust you get from peers based on your character and contributions. It lasts. It comes from living a life grounded in all 5 types of wealth.
Okay, so how do we build these? Systems for social wealth. For depth.
The relationship map is a neat tool. You plot your relationships on a grid. Health, supportive, ambivalent, demeaning versus frequency of contact.
And that shows
Your opportunity zones, where you might want to invest more time to deepen connections or maybe where you need to create distance.
What about romantic partnerships?
The life dinner ritual is suggested. A monthly check-in to talk personal goals, professional goals, and relationship goals. Keeps things aligned.
Plus understanding Gary Chapman's 5 love languages.
Crucial. Words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, acts of service, physical touch, knowing your partner's language and expressing love that way.
And just as important, what not to do. Gottman's 4 horsemen.
Yes. Criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling. Knowing these are the danger zones is the first step to avoiding them.
The Swords also had that simple communication tip for tense moments.
The helped, heard, or hugged method. Brilliant. Instead of jumping in to fix things,
Just ask, do you want to be helped, heard, or hugged right now?
meets their actual need in that moment. So simple, so effective.
Okay, what about building breadth? Better general social skills.
The 4 principles of a master conversationalist are key. 1, be interested, not just trying to be interesting.
Listen more than you talk.
Essentially.
Yeah.
2, ask engaging, open-ended questions. Avoid the dead end. What do you do?
3.
Be a level 2 or 3 listener. Listen to truly understand, not just to reply. And 4, use creative follow-ups to keep the conversation flowing. There's also the anti-networking guide. Shift from transactions to genuine connections. Find value-aligned rooms where you naturally click with people.
And building a brain trust.
Yeah, like an informal board of advisors, people with different perspectives, a contrarian, a connector, etc., who you can turn to. And always show gratitude.
Finally, building that earned status, especially things like public speaking.
The source gives practical tips. Study great speakers. Use the physiological side to manage nerves.
Exactly.
It's a specific breathing technique, basically a double inhale, followed by a long exhale that quickly calms your nervous system. Proven science.
Cool. And even a funny trick for entering a room to cut tension. It's about developing presence and skill that naturally earns respect.
Deep dive into mental wealth.
All right, let's just to mental wealth. Now, the source doesn't state one big question right at the start here, but it feels like it's woven throughout. Something like, how do you cultivate a life of purpose, growth, peace, and inner distinctiveness?
That's a good way to put it. And it kicks off with that fantastic story of Hank Behar.
The 90-year-old taking introductory astronomy at Harvard.
Exactly. It perfectly illustrates curiosity as the real fountain of youth. Studies actually show curiosity boosts cognitive function, mental health, life satisfaction. It's like a super drug for the brain.
But it often fades with age, doesn't it? We get stuck in routines.
We do. The source says your inner 10-year-old would tell you to stay interested, keep exploring, have fun. It's a call to fight against that sameness of incurious, static adulthood.
Fighting for distinctiveness.
Yeah.
I like that. Connects to those ancient ideas.
Yeah.
Are bring it.
Yeah, the Greek idea of striving for your full potential, excellence, which leads to eudaimonia, that deep sense of flourishing happiness.
And the Okinawan concept, ikigai.
Ikigai, yeah. Your reason for life. That sweet spot where what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for all intersect.
Finding your purpose. It's like that universal hero's journey idea, resisting the pressure to just be normal.
As Jeff Bezos apparently said, being normal is easy, but distinctiveness has a price. A price worth paying, the source argues.
So what are the pillars holding up mental wealth?
Okay, 3 core pillars here. First, purpose. Living for something bigger than yourself, it gives daily meaning and identity. The Blue Zone's research on the world's longest-lived people found they all had a clear life purpose, often totally separate from their jobs.
Wow. Purpose literally helps you live longer.
Seems so. Second pillar, growth. Continuously pursuing new interests, learning, staying curious, even if it has no immediate use. Chasing your potential.
This ties into Carol Dweck's work on growth mindset, right? Believing you can change and develop.
Absolutely. Believing abilities aren't fixed. That's key. And the third pillar is space.
Space, like physical space.
More like mental space. Stillness, solitude, quiet. Time to think, reflect, recharge. The source calls it rocket fuel for the mind.
Like Rockefeller walking in his gardens deliberately doing nothing work-related.
Exactly. Unplugging allows for deeper insights.
That Gandhi quote fits perfectly here. Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. Captures that purpose and growth tension.
Beautifully put. Okay, practical systems. The pursuit map helps you identify activities based on 2 axes. Energy, creating versus draining, and competence, high versus low.
So you can focus on
Pursuits that give you energy, regardless of whether you're an expert or a total beginner at them. It reframes the goal around energy, which is the truly scarce resource, not just skill.
and for learning effectively. The Feynman technique.
Love this one. Try to explain a complex topic simply as if to a child, wherever you get stuck or use jargon.
That's where your own understanding is weak.
Precisely. Go back, relearn that gap, simplify again. Simple is the goal.
What about remembering what you learn?
The spaced repetition method. Reviewing information at increasing intervals uses cognitive science to lock things in long term.
And for just thinking better.
Socratic questioning, challenging your own assumptions, digging deeper, asking why repeatedly helps you define the right problem before you jump to solutions.
Finally, how do we cultivate that space pillar in our busy lives?
2 simple but powerful suggestions. The power walk. Just 20, 30 minutes daily, walking without phone, music, podcasts, just walking and thinking like Aristotle, Kierkegaard, lots of great thinkers were walkers.
And the power down ritual.
Yeah, a deliberate routine to transition from work mode to personal life mode. Close the mental tabs from the workday, create that separation, that space.
Deep dive into physical wealth.
Okay, next up, physical wealth. And another vivid, big question to anchor us. Will you be dancing at your 80th birthday party?
It immediately puts your future health front and center, doesn't it? Makes it tangible. The story of Kevin Dahlstrom opening this section is powerful too. Recovered from a mystery illness by prioritizing health, then later walked away from a huge corporate job.
Because his successful peers were sacrificing their health for their careers.
Exactly. It connects to Jane McGonigal's concept of futures thinking.
Right. Vividly imagining that ideal future self, the dancing 80-year-old, to motivate your actions today. Your present self working for your future self.
It's a powerful mental shift. Instead of health being a chore, it becomes an investment in the future you want.
Thinking about the history here, from Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man to hunter-gatherers who just moved to Spartans in the Olympics, physical ability used to be central.
It was often tied to survival, status, even virtue. But then, as the source notes, it kind of fell out of favor in the Middle Ages.
Seen as maybe sinful or less important than the spiritual.
Something like that.
Okay.
Until the Renaissance brought it back. Then later, Darwin's ideas even made fitness a status symbol again.
And now, we're just flooded with health fads. Atkins, paleo, keto, Peloton. It's confusing,
Totally overwhelming sometimes.
right?
Which is why the author brings in the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule.
80% of the results come from 20% of the effort.
Right. You don't need the extreme complex regimens like Brian Johnson's blueprint to build solid physical wealth. Focus on the high-impact basics.
So what are those core basics, the pillars of physical wealth?
Three main ones. First, movement. Peter Attia calls it the single most potent longevity tool we have. Massively reduces mortality risk. And this includes different types.
It's aerobic.
Yeah, lower intensity, zone 2 cardio where you can hold a conversation. Builds endurance. And anaerobic, zone 5. High intensity, short bursts, pushing your limits or VO2 max.
Plus stability and flexibility. Stretching, yoga, mobility work.
Crucial for injury prevention and functional movement as you age. Second pillar, nutrition.
The source keeps this simple. Focus on cleanliness of source.
Exactly. Prioritize protein. Roughly 0.8 grams per pound of body weight is a good target. And mostly eat whole, unprocessed foods, minimal ingredients. Aim for 80–90% of the time. No need for perfection.
Okay. Movement, nutrition, third pillar.
Recovery. And the king of recovery is sleep.
Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep, calls it nature's miracle drug.
It's essential for cognitive function, mood, immune system, preventing disease. Andrew Huberman also stresses quality sleep is foundational for high performance.
That whole "I'll sleep when I'm dead" attitude is just
Fundamentally broken. Yeah, sleep is non-negotiable.
Okay, so systems to build these pillars, the Physical Wealth 30-day challenge.
Great way to kickstart things. Pick a level bronze, silver, track your progress, get an accountability partner, build momentum.
And that science-backed morning routine sounds like it covers multiple bases.
It does. 5 principles. Consistent wake time. Hydrate first thing, 16 ounces water. Move your body somehow. Get 15 minutes of sunlight outside. Then tackle your most important work for 2 hours. Sets a powerful tone for the day.
What about ongoing practice?
A sample movement plan is provided. Combine strength training, both types of cardio, and active recovery days, and the common sense diet. 8 simple rules, like stop eating when you're 80% full, drink lots of water. Very practical.
Takes the guesswork out. And for recovery?
The 9 rules for sleep. Basic sleep hygiene. Consistent bedtime, dark, cool, quiet room, avoid screens before bed, etc. Simple but effective.
And managing stress, those breathing techniques.
Yeah, science-backed breathing protocols, the 4-7-8 breath, lion's breath, that physiological sigh we mentioned earlier. These can rapidly shift you out of stress mode into a calmer state. Great tools to have in your pocket.
Deep dive into financial wealth.
Okay, we've arrived at the final type, financial wealth. And the big question here gets right to the heart of it. What is your definition of enough?
Powerful. It directly challenges that famous Rockefeller quote.
When asked how much money was enough, just a little bit more.
Exactly. That illustrates the endless chase, the Sisyphean struggle, and that concept of hedonic adaptation.
Our tendency to return to a baseline happiness level no matter what we gain.
Right. Which means the high from a financial win never lasts. You always adapt and want more. The source uses that great parable, the fisherman and the investment banker.
Which isn't about saying the fisherman is right and the banker is wrong.
No, not at all. It's about the importance of consciously defining your own enough life, what's actually sufficient for you, rather than just defaulting to more.
It's easy to get caught on that treadmill without even thinking about it.
So true. The source talks about the financial amusement park we live in now, how money has evolved.
From barter to gold to paper, now to digital.
Yeah. It highlights figures like Jacob Fugger, maybe the richest man ever, who seemed to chase money purely for its own sake, contrasting that with a more balanced view.
And as money became more abstract, just numbers on a screen, it got easier to get lost in the game.
Definitely. The danger of the amusement park is that financial apps, the news cycle, it's all designed to be addictive, to keep you engaged, trading, tweaking.
Making you feel like you need complex strategies.
When the real key, the source argues, is focusing on the simple, boring basics and playing the long game, resisting the noise.
Okay, so what are those simple, boring basics? The pillars of financial wealth.
They're refreshingly straightforward. Pillar 1, income generation.
Making money. Through your main job, side hustles, maybe passive streams eventually.
Right. You can always work to increase income, but there's a limit to how much you can cut expenses.
Good point. Pillar 2.
Expense management. Similar idea, hard in practice. Making sure your expenses are consistently lower than your income, and crucially, that they grow slower than your income.
Avoiding lifestyle creep, where your spending just inflates to match every pay rise.
Exactly. That's a huge wealth killer. And pillar 3, long-term investment.
taking the difference between income and expenses.
And investing it wisely so it can compound over time.
Ah, compounding. Einstein's eighth wonder of the world.
It really is. The chessboard and rice story shows its power. Starting small but doubling, it becomes immense.
And the source uses Warren Buffett as the prime example.
Yeah.
Most of his wealth came after age 60.
Yeah. It underscores that time in the market is often more important than timing the market or even sky-high annual returns. Patience is the superpower.
That's so counterintuitive to the get-rich-quick culture.
Totally. Okay, practical systems. The financial wealth hard reset.
What's involved?
Track everything you earn and spend for 1 month. No judgment, just data. Then, commit to cutting just one non-essential recurring expense.
Just one. Seems achievable. A small win to start.
Exactly. Then there are the 17 rules for building financial wealth. We don't need all 17 now, but what are some key ones?
Pay yourself first. Automate savings before you spend. Build an emergency fund, 6-12 months of expenses. Treat credit cards like debit cards. Pay them off fully each month.
Plan ahead for big purchases. Buy quality things you'll keep. Negotiate your recurring bills. You'd be surprised what you can save. It's about disciplined habits.
What about boosting income generation? Career advice.
Focus on building meta skills, communication, sales, problem solving. Things valuable everywhere. Continuous learning. Look for asymmetric opportunities, high potential upside. And manage your career like a business aimed to become indispensable.
For expense management beyond the budget.
Automating savings is huge. Build that rainy day fund. And consciously manage your own expectations to fight lifestyle creep. Ask, do I really need this?
And finally, long-term investment. The source mentions stocks, bonds, real estate.
Even investing in your own business or products. It notes pros and cons for different assets, but I really liked the return on hassle spectrum.
Explain that again.
It's judging an investment not just on potential financial return, but also on how much effort, stress, and headache it involves for you.
So landlording might offer good returns, but if dealing with tenants stresses you out, maybe a simpler index fund has a better overall return for your life.
Exactly. It's personalized. It brings it back to your overall well-being, not just the spreadsheet.
This whole journey through the 5 types of wealth,
Yeah.
it really circles back to that quote used near the end, from Inception.
Do you want to take a leap of faith? Or become an old man filled with regret, waiting to die alone?
It feels like a call to action, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To actively build this multifaceted, wealthy life, starting now, not waiting for some perfect future moment.
Absolutely. Take the leap. Start building. Outro.
Wow. We have covered a lot of ground today. A truly transformative deep dive, I think, into what it actually means to live a wealthy life. And it's clearly so much more than just the money in the bank. It's about intentionally cultivating time, social, mental, physical, and financial abundance, all of them together.
Yeah. The author's own starting point, that simple calculation about his parents, it's such a powerful reminder that our standard scoreboard often needs a complete reset. Focusing on these 5 interconnected areas, it just gives you so much more clarity, more control, and ultimately a path to a genuinely more fulfilling life.
And we went through so many practical systems. The life razor, the energy calendar, the life dinner, the pursuit map. These aren't just theories.
No, they're real actionable tools. Tools that you, listening right now, can actually use to start building a life that feels richer in every sense of the word.
What do you think is the absolute deepest insight someone should take away from all this?
For me, it's this. The answers aren't actually in the book or even in this conversation. They're already inside you. This framework, these tools, they don't give you the answers. What they do is help you ask the right questions, the questions that unlock your path, your definition of wealth.
That's powerful. It puts the ownership back on us. So as you, our listener, reflect on everything we've discussed today, here's a final provocative thought to leave you with. If you were to write a letter right now to your future self, maybe your 80-year-old self, the one dancing at the party, what would you want that letter to say? What kind of life, what kinds of wealth would you hope you had built by then? That future isn't set. It's yours to create, starting with the choices you make today. Thank you for joining us on The Deep Dive. Until next time, keep asking those important questions and keep building your version of a truly wealthy life.